Connie Graham. I have lived in Maine for the last 15 years, but I lived in Connecticut before moving up here. And I started my life in Ridgewood, New Jersey, which was a suburb of New York City, basically. And it was a money town, but my parents started a business in town during the Depression, so we were part of that crowd. But anyway, it was a nice place to grow up, and I really enjoyed it.
Maybe you could tell us, you told us where you grew up, where you've lived and where you've gone in your life.
Well, I lived in Norfolk, Virginia for a while, and another town in Connecticut for a while. And, and I ended up in Connecticut before moving here. So I was in Connecticut for a long time, basically. And I have been to Europe 3 times. Once to drive my aunt around the Cotswolds in England. And twice to visit my oldest son who lives in Geneva, Switzerland.
Okay, wow.
I should mention the fact that when I retired, I drove myself around the country for 2 months and went 10,047 miles and had a wonderful time visiting old friends.
Wow. Did you have a favorite state that you were in?
No, but I think Glacier National Park was my favorite.
Yeah, that's a beautiful park.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about a favorite teacher or a mentor who had a positive experience effect on you?
Well, I would have to mention my pastor in Connecticut. His name was Henry Gordon, and he was well known throughout the Connecticut Conference and beyond that, really, within the UCC people. He was an exceptional preacher, but beyond that, he was an exceptional friend to everybody. And I had the good fortune of going to Berkeley, California with him to be trained as a Stephen minister. We were both trained at the same time, 2-week session in Berkeley, California. And we came back and had a very active Stephen ministry in that church for 8 years. It's enabling the congregation to minister to each other, particularly when there's a need within a family. And it's quite a long training process. We had 12 people who enrolled, and it's quite a training that they get before they go out to minister to other people in the congregation. And it really is a great help to the minister because he can't be there all the time, particularly when there was a large congregation,
How did you like doing being a Stephen minister?
Well, the funny part about it was that I had never taught and I had never been good at public speaking, but having to teach under the circumstance, I learned that there's a ham inside of me. And it came out. But I really enjoyed it. It was a wonderful experience.
Has there been a turning point in your life that you would tell me about?
Well, there's several turning points, but of course the big one was when my marriage ended. It was the end of the fairy tale, and I had to face reality and raise 3 sons of my own. And fortunately, I was blessed to have an excellent therapist to help me gain my footing and continue. And then there were several other times. There was I had a wonderful Father's Day. What's the word I want? Retreat, I guess, with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross in a life death and transition workshop. and it was truly life-changing. Last night, we were supposed to have a bonfire, but it was raining, so we were indoors, but with a fireplace. And we had been instructed to bring a pine cone. And each one of us had to get up, go to the fire, throw the pine cone into the fire, and announce to the group exactly what we were leaving there and what we were taking home. And for me, that was easy. I was leaving my resentment and taking home forgiveness. We also had a weekend called Tres Dias. I don't know whether you're familiar with Tres Dias, but it's a spiritual weekend, and it's also very relaxing for me. So I would name those three as my turning points.
Can you tell us about your work, paid work and volunteer work that you've done?
Sure. When I got divorced, I had to make a living. And the only way I could make a living without a college education was in the food business. And I was always in the front of the house and not in the kitchen. But I was always dealing with the public, which, of course, was the way I was raised at my parents' store, dealing with the public. So that came naturally to me. I also was a hospice volunteer, which is the reason I ended up with a Kubler-Ross weekend, of course. And when I moved up here, I went looking for opportunities for volunteer work. And because I had worked, after the food business, I was a counselor at a halfway house for incarcerated women and their children. And because I had been working with a population, when I came up here, I started work with an organization who went into the prisons and taught a decision-making course. And I did that for several years, and I really enjoyed it, but it took a lot of work, and eventually I had to quit that. I've also been a driver for Road to Recovery, which is taking cancer patients to their appointments. And I have worked at the food bank. And Road to Recovery fired me at 85 because it's a national organization. So I had to give up that. I had to give up the food bank because my physical body I couldn't carry things anymore. And so it's starting to be kind of narrow. I now spend most of my time taking my friends who don't drive anymore where they would like to go.
That's certainly a ministry in itself. I'm sure they're very thankful for that.
Well, I look at it the opposite way. It's the only way I can be useful, and it's important to be useful.
Yeah. Why do you go to church?
Well, the reason I always is because it's easier to be a Christian in community than to be alone.
Okay. I would agree with that. Or why did you choose us? Why did you choose this congregation?
Okay, I had been going to a church in Gardner that closed. So I was basically church shopping. And when I got to Waterville, Alice Anderton. What's the last?
Anderman. You're right. Yeah.
Was preaching that Sunday because David was on sabbatical. And so when I introduced myself to her, I told her I was from Augusta. And she said, "Oh, do you know Jean Davis?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, she's standing right over there." So I introduced myself to Jean, and we chatted for a while, and that was the beginning of a long friendship, which I treasured very much.
Yes. Jean's definitely one of the saints.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miss her terribly.
Yeah.
My drive to Waterville on Sunday mornings now is very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had such a good time.
And do you have a spiritual practice that you observe now?
Uh, my only spiritual practice really is praying. And when I came up here, I had a prayer movement in Connecticut that I started myself, just as a silent prayer, ending with verbal prayer. And so when I came up here, I missed it, and I started asking people as I met them whether they'd be interested. And there were 6 of us who gathered in my living room once a week, every Tuesday night. And out of the 6, there are only 2 of us left. So we still meet every Tuesday night.
Nice. Was prayer part of your family spiritual practice for you when you were growing up?
I can't claim that really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I might add that you're driving your friends, even though you may disagree. I would consider that a spiritual practice.
Well, it's being useful.
Yeah, yeah. And being together.
Yes, but
Yeah.
community is so important.
It is. The last question that we have is what can the congregation do for you? Or
Just be in community with me.
Mm.
That's it.
Okay.
Be in Christian community with me.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Connie? I've heard about so many of your adventures and so forth, and
There's a lot of that I don't think we should go into.
okay.
But I'm grateful for all the friends I have made in the church, and I'm very grateful for the check-in. It's something that made life very bearable in the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we had to be separated.
Yeah, and I know we're all grateful for you and for your presence with us.
Thank you.